So with much anticipation, emails, phone calls, text messages, and I think some of you guys even sent up smoke signals, Spanky, when are we getting back onto the interior in the Impala? Well guys, I've been making videos on it, trying to alternate that stuff around, but here it is, we're back on it. So in the last episode of the interior in the 61 Impala, we were building a custom back seat. We added these fiberglass wings that cover the tubs. We screwed this to the back firewall of the car, or the, whatever you want to call this. I'll call it the trunk firewall on the other side. But anyway, I want to show you, bring you in closer and show you the mounting attachments that I put on here that I usually use on these custom seats. So let's get in closer. Because I use plywood, I use these furniture nuts. And what they are, they've got little teeth that bite into the wood as you tighten the bolt up. Now these are for carriage bolts. They've got a square hole in them. I don't know if I can get this out or not. Well, I've got another one back of it, so it's not going to come out. But anyway, these furniture nuts are for carriage bolts, meaning they're not threaded. They've got a hole that the carriage bolt locks into. Now, before I laminate the foam to this, I will put a piece of tape over this to where the carriage bolt won't come out of the square where it's locked in. Now, if it does, it's no big deal. Just turn the bolt on the other side and you can find it. But the carriage bolt is small enough to where it doesn't interfere with the foam, especially you'll never feel it when it's tightened down. So that's what I use to secure the back seat in, and it finds its holes really well. And then on the front side, on the top side of the bottom, I've got this little L bracket that mounts here, and then it goes up above where the foam line would be. So you install this seat, the bottom first, bolt it in, then you install the back seat. All right, but the L bracket needs to be higher than the foam so that you can actually get the bolt in. Now that secures it from falling down. On the front side, to keep it from moving forward, I've got another L bracket that'll mount right here, and it's bolted to the bottom of the seat, and then it'll be bolted in with one bolt. Now these seats aren't going to go anywhere. They're very secure, and we've got some other cool stuff to do to these seats before they go in. This is just basically a mock-up. This will get very overly engineered, as everything I do does, seems like. But this is where we're going to start. Now we've got to figure out how we want to do the foam. So let's get some examples of that and see what you think. All right, so when it comes to the foam design, there's a lot of different choices. And this is what I've got to work with. Now I've got this kit left over from another project where I didn't use it, and I built my own foam. It's time to use this foam for something. The foam is brand new. We just got to make it fit our project. Now, a lot of these big cars like this, a lot of guys like to put these seats back here and put the bolsters on both sides, and it looks like you've got two bucket seats in the rear, and you've got a console or some kind of hot mess going up the center. That is perfectly fine and dandy for that builder and his design. Me, I want the luxury look. I want this car to be a hot rod, but at the same time, I want guys to get out of this car smoking their cigars and going into their favorite steakhouse if that's what they want to do. I want it to be a black tie car that's a hot rod, kind of a wolf in sheep's clothing. I don't want it to look like a late model Lexus or a BMW or Corvette. Corvettes don't have back seats, do they? Oh, you know what I mean, a Firebird. So let's take this foam, cut these soft corners out of it, and see what we can come up with. All right, so I took the foam, I notched it a little bit, I cut off the edges, cut out the back, and this is where we're gonna start with. We're gonna try to come up with enough foam to make a back seat that looks like it's one solid back seat. Then we'll contour this shape and maybe put a bolster or something on each end. Maybe not. Maybe the seat will just continue on over, and have some type of a banding around it. All right, so here's some of the foam that I use, and this is how I make my seats. Now, this foam comes in big blocks, and I draw the shape of the seat that I want to use, and I've got templates saved from all the different seats that I've done in the past that I liked, and I throw away the ones that I don't like. This actually looks like the 32 Roadster, my Roadster, or another Roadster that I've done the interior on. This would be the back of the seat. This is pretty cushiony, and it feels like your shoulders push into the seat very well. However, if you use this green foam for the back, it would be totally wrong. You'd feel like you're being pushed over, and there's not enough weight in your upper body to soak into it or sink into it. So let me know if you're interested in knowing what this foam is, and I'll send you a link or the description of what the foam is called. So from this point, you can see there's another design right there that I did. And that, I don't do boats, but that looks like a boat cushion or some type of a bench or something that I've done. So what I need to do now is I need to use some of this foam along with the other bucket seat foam that I have, and we'll make a complete back seat. So basically, I take the design of the seat that's in there now, and I'll mimic it, but I believe the final result, this isn't gonna be that high. I'm gonna come off of this and probably take about an inch of this off and curl down a little sharper. So it'll be a little bit more classic instead of racy. Let me know what you think. So let's get this done and get this cut. All right, simple hacksaw blade. You saw where I cut part of this on the bandsaw. It cuts very easy with just a hacksaw blade. Now we're gonna sand this later, and we're gonna sculpt it the way we want to. So right now, we're trying to be careful, but if you mess up, it's not gonna hurt anything. And the imperfections of the foam too, a lot of that will be covered up by the sew foam that we use when we're actually making our material, sewing our material together. There we go. All right, so here's what I've done. I went ahead and changed the profile of the back seat to a lesser of a arch on the back of your thighs. I'll go ahead and I'll put another bolster or top to it that's going to be similar to this dotted line right here when it comes time to make the foam, address the foam. This will give it a little bit more definition, and then the center pleat that'll go right here will be different. So this line will basically be something like this across here. This will be one color. The pleat in the center will be a different color or a different texture or design. But this subtle slope right here is more classic than this really raised part, if you understand what I mean. So I've got to cut all of the new foam down to this and all of the old foam, and that'll be our new bottom. So we're only really just using the foam. We're not using the shape, other than the fact that it does have somewhat of the shape that I'm looking for. So Anyway, let's get some foam cut. All right, so before anybody asks a question about why I'm alternating colors, I have no idea. I just think it looks cool. And I'm only doing this because it looks cool. They are the same types of foam, same part number and all that good stuff. They're just different colors. So what I've done is I've changed the profile of the foam. I cut a lot out of the front right here, as you saw me doing on the bandsaw. Reason I did that is this is much more of a classier look, and it probably feels better. So from this point, I've still got to cut the front however I want to do the sides, or around however I want to do the design. I've still got to cut that. I've still got to trim the back on some of them to get them all even. And then these will be paired up and glued together, and then we can sand the tops to make it super smooth, and then we'll sculpt the front. We got to cut some off the back, so this will all scoot back. But the next step is, before we do all of that, I want to go ahead and get the back cut, and then we'll have a complete seat going across. Then we can figure out what we want to do as far as bolsters on the side, and all that is, what I'm saying is a piece of foam that kind of gives it a contour, if we want to do that. If not, we may want to lower this metal ashtray holder or armrest, the rear armrest. We can delete that, we can modify it. So much you can do. I can scoop this foam all the way over, which I probably will not do. I'll probably bring that foam back here. I'll probably glue this piece back in, which I saved, and then we'll modify the side and go up the back, and this will all either be painted, or we could pad it, or we could incorporate it into the rear door panel. There's so much you can do. It's endless. Anything you want to do, just use your imagination. So let's get this cut out, and yeah, let's do that. Let me sit in it first and make sure I like it. Make sure my head doesn't hit the ceiling. I'm pretty comfortable. I'm not a backseat driver, a backseat rider, or anything like that. But I could ride back here for a while. Foam feels good. Very nice and cushy. Unlike the back is even softer. So that means my back goes in further. You wouldn't want to use this back to sit on. It'd feel like grandma's couch. Anyway, talking too much. Let's move on. All right, this is the last piece to go in. I always have, it's not glued up yet. Let's take a closer look. All right, the next step is to mate all of these pieces together and glue them. And then it'll be 2 solid pieces of foam. And now, once again, I know they're different colors on the back. It's the same foam. Just when you start cutting this foam, it turns back into a color like that. You can see how the foam changes colors as it sits open. Now, for those of you guys that do welding in your shop, make sure you don't have any of this laying around, because one spark on this foam, and everything goes up because all that is petroleum. Ask me how I know. All right, so we got the foam roughed up for the back. Nowhere near finished, but we're so much further than we were. As far as the front seats are concerned, I made these seats probably a year and a half, 2 years ago. Now these are just copies of seats that you can buy already ready to go. The only problem with those seats for me is they don't never fit the car. So save some time, build my own seat frames, and then foam them. Now, I had bought a bunch of that foam that you saw there a long time ago that we were cutting up and repurposing. And that's fine. Most of my foam I buy in large blocks, and I do it just like you saw on the bandsaw. Now for the front seats, I've still got some of that foam. I'm gonna go ahead and put some of that foam on these seats. It's too big, but it'll give us an idea of what this is gonna look like and where we can start and how we wanna cut this down. I've already had to modify this just to get it to fit my seat design. And I can already tell you, it's already too big, but I didn't want to do any cutting until I got the back seat designed. This is all buckled up over here on this side. That's okay. Now that is a big fat Mama Jama seat right there. So we have got to do some fixing on that. Let's get the other side on. All right. So as you can see, if there was a door here, door panel's gonna hit right there. I got plenty of room in the center, but we can thin it up a little bit. You can see how bulky it is on the side, and then we've got the latch to contend with. So now it's time to figure out what I want to do. So for starters, I don't like this contour right here. So I think I want to have them a little bit thinner, of course. Probably rip it down the center, take some out, leave the edges on. I'll straighten this edge up. I'm not going to use these backs like this. So I'll probably end up putting a wooden back on this seat that we can put on after the cushion is on, then put the back on. Then I want to build a band, a polished band that goes around the seat like the factory car would have had. And I want to be able to hook that to the seat without being able to see any of the fasteners. So we've got a long ways to go on some figuring some stuff out. But with your help, we're going to get it done. Well, I feel like I'm sitting pretty good right now. Once we scoot the seat over just a little bit, the steering wheel will be centered within the seat. So that'll be good. And it'll give us more room on the door panel. I've got a couple more seats that I'm doing right now in the shop on some of the other projects that some of you guys are following along with, and they're coming up as well. So we're getting into the winter time, and winter time is when I like to try to do a lot of my upholstery type stuff because it's a little too cold to paint, a little too cold to do anything that's outside. So we try to get some stuff done that's upstairs where it's usually hot in the summertime, even with the AC on. All right, now whether you use your original frame in your pickup truck, build you some frames, or use a seat out of another car, if you're gonna do custom foam, you gotta make it fit your design and your seat. Let's put this seat in. Now this is the front seat that we cut down. Now we cut a lot out of this. I think I cut 5 inches out of the center of the bottom, and I cut about 4.5 inches off of this back. Let's put the bottom in first. Now it's in 2 pieces right now. And before I get started on designing it, the layout. These will be glued together or laminated together, and you won't be able to see a seam, just like what we're going to do in the back seat. So now let's put this in and see what it looks like now that we've cut it down. Now what we were doing is cutting this foam down to make our own design, make it smaller so it wouldn't hit the door panels because the seats were too, the foam was too big, because I used foam that I already had. There's no sense throwing this stuff away. I can use it and design something around it, make it look really good. Now this foam now fits the bottom of this seat very well. I like it a whole lot, and the back fits within here too. All right, from this point, what I'll end up doing is we'll make a back for the seat, and then I'll make some type of a band that goes around here. Whether it resembles a stock band where it was polished stainless steel or polished aluminum, we may make it where it's covered and the whole back of the seat will go on together and it'll come down over the upholstery. Totally up to me when I get down the road just a little bit. But right now, we've got a cut down foam seat. Let's see if the other side fits as well as this one. All right, let me bring you guys in closer. All right, so there we go. Now, I know there's some gaps and stuff in it from where I've not got it pushed exactly right, but trust me, that'll be all glued and it'd be one piece again. And the back's the same way. And I've got an option on the back. I'm gonna ask you guys what you think. Now on the back seat, you can see I've got an armrest here that I'll modify. This is all stock right now. It's made out of steel. We can modify that and do whatever we want. Right now, I've got this seat notched and I've got it pushed over against the rear door panel, and there's no gap going up to the top. Or we could scoot it over, not far enough, and continue this armrest on up to the back. And of course, I'll glue that notch back in, and it'll look similar to the other side right there. Still not decided on what to do, but there's the back seat and the front seat. And from here, we'll go ahead and cut these in 5-inch strips like I did the back. I'll recontour the seat however I want to do it, and then we'll laminate everything together. I may leave it like this. I cut the back seat down a little bit. I may leave the backs alone and cut the front seat down to match the back seat. One way or the other, we'll get it figured out. So there's where we're at so far, guys. We've come a long ways in just a few days here on designing, cutting, and getting this foam fitted to where we like it and it's going to look good for the car. Like I said before in another video when we were doing these seats are something like you'd see in a Lexus or Camaro. We don't want that. We want the classic look, but I don't want that flat look. So it's a mix between the two. If I wanted Lexus interior, we'd put Lexus interior in here, and that's not what we're gonna do. So it's gonna be custom, it's gonna be cool, and you're gonna enjoy watching it get done, and I hope you get something out of it. So if you're through watching, get out in the garage and go build something. See you guys on the next episode, and thanks for the support. Don't forget, head on over to Spanky'sHotRods.com and grab yourself some of these cool t-shirts and help support the channel. Every dollar that we make off of every t-shirt sale goes right back in to the channel and to our giveaway program. We always got contests and stuff for the subscribers on the channel.
to win free merchandise. So if you hadn't subscribed yet, that's a really good incentive to do so. So now if you're through watching, get out in the garage and go build something. See you guys in the next episode. Spanky's out.